If it came out that we were 100% living in a simulation, what would be the biggest indicator looking back? How arbitrary the speed of light limit is. It's just the read-write speed limit of the hard drive we are living in. Junior simulation dev. Hey, should we model the whole multiverse? Senior simulation dev. Nah, just make a skydome texture. Junior simulation dev. What do we do if they make it to the edge? Senior simulation dev. Just cap their travel speed. By the time they get there, it will be somebody else's problem. Not only did they cap the travel speed, they also introduced the arbitrary variant of universe expansion to never really have to render anything beyond the local cluster. It's a neat trick, though. Much better than the invisible wall all around that we use in our simulations. Well, at least I don't have to worry about invisible walls like the ones in Motocross Madness that get you back to the center of the universe. https://u.b/9dbpdwm or 34. All the deja vu moments, like MF5 played this level already. There are moments where I've gone, wow, I feel like I've seen this place in a dream, or wow, this happened in a dream and I don't know how to react. I once had a dream about driving through this one specific intersection in the mountains. Keep in mind, I was only like 9 and I'd never seen mountains before, let alone this specific spot. About half a year later, my family went on a road trip, and we drove through that intersection that I dreamt of. I also have similar stories of the same thing happening, and it happens probably at least 3 times a year. I talked about something similar on Reddit recently. I think we're in an endless loop and just re-experiencing days of futures past. Our Sims can play The Sims. I wonder if our Sims are playing The Sims. I like to think they are. Those Sims deserve to enjoy The Sims as much as our Sims. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Lazy coding like GTA. You see a car for the first time and the next day you see it everywhere. I recently learned while watching a speed run that this wasn't lazy coding. It was a hardware limitation. The old games could only keep so many different models of car loaded at once. So, whatever car you were driving would become more frequent since it had to be loaded. My favorite thing with driving in GTA is if you can drive well based off the mini-map alone, that no car will ever appear in front of you if you look backwards. That it never fails that once you start to get a little bit ahead in life, your car's check engine light comes on. Actually happened to me a year ago. Haven't heard about this before though. Happened to me last month, though the check engine light is sometimes metaphorical. Wife and I were able to completely be out of debt, with exception of our house note. Then the water heater went out. At the end of May, my car died, bad alternator, towed and repaired it. 2 days later, the check engine light came on. Traded it in for a new car. Last week, my water heater busted. Now I have car loan payments and need to pay off the water heater charges. We were just celebrating being in a good place with debt in mid-May. Never seeing my neighbors carrying in groceries. I saw this mentioned the other day and had a moment of WTF. Then realized I don't really watch my neighbors all that often, so why would I have seen it, lol. Start watching now and you'll see. We've been watching our neighbors for months because of this phenomenon, and we never see anyone bringing in groceries. And we have tons of neighbors because we're in a densely populated condo complex. Further support for the simulation is one neighbor moving in, and carried in 9 different kinds of chairs. No 2 were the same. I do hear them get takeaway delivered quite often, TBF, so I might still not see them get groceries. Long, but super weird and inexplicable. I know how this sounds, but I swear this really happened. I was a childhood bookworm, while the other girls at a 5th grade sleepover were playing air hockey and dancing around too. Let's hear it for the boy. I'd pulled a creepy-looking book off my hostess' shelf and huddled into a beanbag chair in a quiet corner of her family room. I finished the book that night, and the next morning I placed it back on her shelf, left, and promptly forgot the title. We moved a few months later, and I spent the next 7 years trying to find that damn book. There was no internet, just old card catalogs, but I searched every library I visited. Unfortunately, both book and title remained elusive. It turns out that there is no shortage of books about young ghost girls on farms in spooky houses with pawns. The author wasn't Mary Downing Hahn, Richard Peck, or any of the usual paranormal authors. It wasn't Wait Till Helen Comes. The only thing I could remember about the cover was that she was holding an owl. That didn't turn out to be helpful either. In my sophomore year, I worked as a librarian's aide and spent roughly 2 hours in my school's library every day, to no avail. I'd literally searched through every book that contained the following keywords: ghost, haunted, spooky, scary, and mystery. But one afternoon, as I was shelving books in the biography section, something quite literally hit me on the head. It was a hardback book that had fallen off the top shelf in a section it didn't belong in. As soon as I picked it up and saw the hollow owl on the cover, IKNEW. It was not a book logged into our system. Nobody knew how it got there. I was alone in the library. FWIW. I just Googled "you novel ghost story girl pond owl" and it was the top result. *The Ghost Next Door* by Willie Folk St. John. If I'd just waited 32 years. That's pretty cool. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. The closest I can come to explaining it is that maybe a friend found it, sneaked it into the library, and tossed it over the bookshelf at me. But none of that explains how they knew it was the right book or how they were able to get out without me seeing or hearing them. It was a school library. It wasn't that big. Did you see Interstellar? It reminds me of that. I can sometimes think of a movie or a song, and that bitch either shows up in some form on my suggestions or my actual television. How many times I've said, I haven't spoken to X in a while, I should give them a call. And then my phone starts ringing. Right. What the fuck, yo, I was just thinking about calling you. I went on to a PlayStation chat from 2016 last week to reminisce playing with an old college friend and see when we last spoke. That very second a new message popped up saying he was doing the same thing and that he wondered how I was. I hadn't heard from him in 7 years and he had zero reason to contact me. Going into a room and forgetting what I was gonna do were Sims and they canceled the action. The doorway effect, basically. Your brain is using the transition to a new environment to do some housekeeping and your short-term memory getting wiped is one of those things. My psych professor at Notre Dame, Red Vansky, did the experiment that verified this. Was super cool hearing his take on the whole concept. Has he investigated ways to reduce the effect? Things would reappear only when I stop looking for it. If that's not a dead giveaway that we're living in a simulation, I don't know what is. And don't forget about hairpins and hair ties. Where do they even go? This happened to me last week. Dropped both of my silver rings on the ground in my small bathroom. I find one, but the other one is nowhere to be found. Every day I look and nothing. Then one day I'm sitting on the toilet and there's the ring out right there in front of me. I would have had to walk over it every time I go in and out of the bathroom. I live alone, so no one was messing with me, and I use only that bathroom during the day and night. How did I not see it for 3 days and then all of a sudden it appears? I've got asterisk and asterisk answer for that one. It might not be correct, of course. That MFER jumped into the cuff of your pants. I've had that happen with a very specific piece of hardware lost to the floor at work, only to later appear in my bathroom at home. I've got a double-headed coin I keep in my side pocket as a sort of token for my sobriety 5 years now, and was pretty frustrated when I lost it. Found it weeks later in the back pocket of a pair of pants. Although it was buttoned shut, coin must have slipped out while I was reclining in my seat, then slid forward and made it through the very narrow gap to the side of the button. I used to work in a pharmacy, so I asked about 100 people for their name and DOB every day. A couple weeks into the job, I mentioned to a co-worker how I hadn't had a single customer with the same birthday as me, got 4 of them over the next 2 days. I love when the simulation thinks to itself, oh snap, I've been noticed, I better make up for it, and then it goes way overboard. This reminds me of a situation I experienced very recently. I am an immigrant living in the US. There aren't that many fellow German immigrants where I live. It's not a common occurrence to meet someone from back home. About a month ago, I took my child to the zoo. At the gorilla house, there was a large gathering of people in front of a window, observing the animals. As I was standing there, I heard a couple speaking in German. I made sure I had heard correctly and greeted them in our native tongue. The woman looked extremely shocked and acted standoffish. I hadn't expected such a reaction. She eventually pointed to the window and said, "This lady there is also from Germany and just came up to us as well." I look over and see a cheerful young woman wave at me. I honestly thought that the couple I had believed to be on some hidden camera TV show. The husband informed me that they had lived in the States for 2 years without ever having met someone from Germany, not once, only to end up being bombarded by random German people in the span of a couple of minutes. It was extremely bizarre. I sat on a minibus in Thailand traveling up from the southern islands to Bangkok. The person in the seat behind me struck up a conversation. She had a very posh English accent but explained that she was Welsh. I told her I'd have never guessed from the accent. She joked, "I know, but my accent is very heavy when I speak Welsh." As I'm a Welsh speaker, we neutrality switched to speaking Welsh. Amazed at the coincidence of 2 Welsh speakers sitting next to each other on a random Thai bus. A few minutes late, the guy in the seat in front of me woke from his slumber, turned around and joined in the Welsh conversation. 3 Welsh speakers, all traveling alone through Thailand, end up on the same small bus sitting next to each other. The pens I used to go to large corporate meetings a few times a year. They gave out pens and notepads to everyone as if I was going to take notes. I would take pens from empty seats and from co-workers and take them home, a dozen at a time at least. This went on for years. So where are the pens? Here should be hundreds of them in my home. I should be able to stand anywhere and look in any direction and see a pen, but no. Then you have people like me with hundreds of pens in my junk drawer. How many actually work? 3. And none of them have black ink, they're all orange. Who's controlling me, and why did you make me so awkward? Playing on difficult mode? Reminds me of the South Park game difficulty slider. https://ingur.com/JQFXFJF. Someone chose very difficult for my simulation. Whoever is playing with me took the worst life path and even worse spawn point for me to start over. Outer space not having sound. Very convenient, dear devs, very convenient. We're lucky we can't hear the sun. There was once a thread here about the experience of being deaf, and multiple deaf people talked about being dumbfounded. On learning that the sun doesn't make noise in the sky. If we could hear the sun, it would be as loud as a jackhammer here on Earth, all day, even night, forever.